My guest today is someone about whom I know very little. She's sitting opposite me. She's blonde and very attractive. And I also know that she does a lot of stuff on Facebook. The name, Lenja Faraguna. I've got that roughly right?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. I hate getting people's name wrong. I think it's kind of vaguely rude to do that. Facebook is quite important. It's been a big deal. And I've seen you appear on all sorts of things. And you seem to gather large crowds of people to watch it.
I don't know why it happens. Maybe people just kind of see things through my eyes and they like it, and then maybe I give them courage to say things and write things and do things with me. So yeah, it's been quite alright. I was absent on Facebook for about 6 to 8 months in one period of my life. From today until tomorrow, I just said I quit Facebook, and then I came back and I just started to be myself and to write things the way I feel, and people just, I don't know, somehow felt me.
What is the general reason? What is it? What are the topics you write about? What is the whole idea of what you're trying to present?
I want to show people that they can do things, although the situation in Slovenia or in Maribor is bad. I want to show them if the right group of people come together, if they have the same values, then they can build something. So either it's a social project, either it's something connected with business, because I coach people about marketing and business and startups. So I write about that a lot. And basically, it's just the things that I think that people have forgotten, and these are the values, and I think that people should just fight for their values, and I give that to people and it resonates in some way.
Is the fact that you say you do this, you give presentations and stuff to do this, is this actually physically a job then? It's much more than just simply writing on Facebook. It's an income.
It's an income, yes.
Okay.
This is what I do, yeah.
And you don't do 50,000 other things as well. This is what you do. This is the whole point of it.
Yes.
And you're involved in marketing as well. Are you involved in promoting particular products and this sort of thing too?
Yes. Well, in Slovenia, what I do is that I coach different businesses about how to do marketing differently. And my philosophy is that marketing should be real, raw and relevant, and it seems that it's just gotten into some wrong way. And so I want to bring it back to the basics where humans talk to humans, not brands talking to customers. So this is what I do in Slovenia, but in the outside world, I'm more of a radio girl. So I do talks about how to write radio advertising effectively. So this is what I do abroad.
We'll talk much more about all of that. But one of the things I asked you to do was choose music. Music important?
Oh, yes, definitely.
The list is very interesting because there's a lot of very classic stuff from a long way back. So some of this is before your time. What?
I have a dad who loves music, so he put me into this feeling of, knowing all the legendary bands and music.
Where do we start?
Let's start with the Radio Gaga by Queen.
Why?
Because radio, there's still someone who loves you, and that would be me, and that would be you, Chris.
Radio Gaga and Queen. It's true, isn't it? The radio thing is a one-to-one. There's me and there's whoever individually is listening. There may be thousands of individuals, but nonetheless it's one-to-one. It has that thing, which is quite different to TV.
Yes.
Because TV is a bit like standing on the stage.
Of course.
I'm really interested in so many issues now that you've brought up. But let's talk about you originally. Where were you born?
In Maribor.
Okay. What were your parents?
My mother is professor of English and my dad is an engineer.
Hence your jolly good English, I guess. And probably you've travelled a little bit too. What about early years? What are your memories of Maribor or whatever, little young Lenja?
Well, my dad put me into all sorts of sports, so I did everything like I was a boy. So I did volleyball, chess, I did gymnastics, I played all sorts of things, tennis, table tennis, you name it, I did it. So a lot of that. I was also a journalist in primary school. Then I went to high school where I was in the language program. And in the 3rd grade in high school, I went for my first abroad visit to south of England. This is where I, did something on my own without my parents, because I'm an only child. And then in the last year of high school, I just decided I wanted to go and study abroad. So first I went to Vienna and studied there, all sorts of things. Then I went to London as an au pair, took care of 3 kids when I was 20, cooked for them every day.
Good experience? Sometimes you get bad experiences doing this job.
It was bittersweet.
Okay.
I had a really, really good relationship with dad, with the dad of the family, but the wife, she was a famous BBC producer, and she couldn't do anything at home, and she did not like me at all.
Good.
So then I came back, transferred to Graz, got a scholarship, went to Paris, studied there for 6 months, then got another scholarship for London, where I did my master's degree about semiotics of radio advertising. So this is what I did. And every time I talk to students, or I do startups or anything, I just say, just go out, learn, come back.
And keep your mind set on what you want to do, because
Exactly.
It's very easy when you're not experienced and maybe not that mature to get pulled in all sorts of directions which may actually not be what you really want to do.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's a really hard one, though. When you're young, so many people say to me, how do you get into this and that, and how do you get involved? And I say the answer is you focus on what you want to do and just keep plodding at it.
Exactly.
Let's have another piece of music first. I've got lots of other things to say.
Okay, Rufus Wainwright. Last year I went to a concert of his, and it's called "I Don't Know What It Is." And the lyric goes, "I don't know what it is, but I gotta do it." And it was the same with me. In a certain time of my life, about 2 years ago, I was in a bit of a turmoil in my life. And I just knew I had to do things, and I just followed that Northern Star of mine, and I just did it.
A good lesson. My guest today, I don't really know what to call you. What do you give? Do you give yourself a name as a job? Somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
I call myself radionista. It's, a fashionista.
Yeah, I understand.
A radionista.
I'm thinking about it.
And I'm collecting diamonds, business diamonds.
Okay. That doesn't help me much.
No, just say Lenja.
My guest today, Lenja Faraguna. And all of that stays in, because I don't see how we edit around that. Good. You spoke about lots of different things in that very detailed introduction of the things you're doing. One of them, you mentioned journalist. And what is a journalist? Because I have my issues with this name, journalism.
Well, what I did then, that was in primary school. I was 12. I was just looking for stories of my classmates, what we are interested in and what they have been doing, and maybe, find a different angle from where you can present a story. This is what we did. So.
And did you start with an idea of what you wanted them to talk about, or did you simply find somebody who you thought was interesting and could then present something to record?
I would lie to you if I said I remember how I did it.
Okay.
But how I do it now is that I just like to find things about the person and then just let them speak and ask sub-questions. Then they open up. And then you can get really, really good stories.
Because for me, a lot of journalism I see, written and on TV or maybe radio, but rather less so, is the journalist goes out with a specific goal in mind that they know what the story covers, but they are going to make somebody say something. And I kind of think that's manipulating the process, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I sometimes get so surprised when I work with, entrepreneurs and, business people. And I always like to be surprised by their story. So I know what they're about, but every time they go so many levels deeper, and I'm just so enthusiastic about what I find there, you know, that diamond of theirs.
Yes.
And I love that bit where I get completely surprised because I hate people being predictable.
But I also hate the idea that I don't present the truth about them.
Of course, yes.
I don't have to present everything they've ever done, but I do have to present the truth, I think.
Yes.
Mind you, I don't call myself a journalist. I call myself a moderator or something, you know, because I don't really...
No, more than a moderator.
I don't, well, except I don't go out with a goal in mind, you know.
Yes.
I have a subject in mind or a person in mind, but never a goal. I'm not trying to entrap. And I think a lot of journalism is entrapment.
Yes. Well, I think you should never do that.
It's kind of immoral.
Yes.
I guess that what I don't have, of course, is an editor demanding a particular story from me.
Yes.
And maybe that's part of the issue. And maybe behind the editor there could be commercial exercises as well. So I'm being gentle about the whole thing, but it worries me a bit. I'd like to know how you work on a day-to-day basis, but I think we're going to have to put one more piece of music in first.
Okay, so now let's go to Dire Straits, So Far Away. This piece of music was really, really special to me because my boyfriend Miran sent it to me in a message because I travel quite a lot. So he sometimes comes with me and sometimes he stays home. And he just completely disarmed me when he sent me this piece of music, you know, because then you know there's somebody there at home waiting and wants you back.
It's a very deep, emotional piece of music.
Yes.
The sound of Dire Straits, So Far Away. And actually quite a lot of your music, because I have listened to all of the tracks, have that kind of message about where is this going, or what is the goal, or who am I, or where is the person I respect, or whatever. That's part of a lot of your music.
Yes, it is. I always try to find a story in something, and a piece of music always connects me with a certain part of my life or my emotion or where I want to go or my values.
Let's talk about advertising. How does it work? How do you persuade customers that a product is good? Where's your starting point with the companies you work for?
My starting point is to get to know them.
The company?
The company, yes. So what I do is I take them out of their office and we don't meet even in my office. We go somewhere where it's neutral. I want them to be in a completely different state of mind. And then I just ask them questions that people would never expect from somebody who works or is a business or a marketing coach. So sometimes they tell me they feel like they're, you know, talking to a psychologist, or that they have it's been a long while since they have talked so much about themselves. And I think this is how they remind themselves who they are, why they started this business, and why they're doing this, what they're doing. And sometimes people say, you choose who you work for. And I said, yes, because I need to feel them and they need to feel me, so that I can then accurately and persuasively present their story to the world. And it needs to mean something to me as well as to them.
Do you have to believe in the product as well as the person?
Yes. I think that the product, in the product, is also the person who created it. You know, why he created it, not just what he did or how he did it, but why, what's the story behind it. And then it's so easy to tell the story to people in the outside world when you have deep values from where this product or service stems from.
And how do you make the information? Because it could be something terribly technical, something very involved. First of all, of course, your father was an engineer, so maybe you have access to understanding quite a lot of areas. But how do you know how the client, i.e. the person you're advertising to, the person who will buy the product, how do you know how they're going to react to the words or the techniques you use in this promotion?
Well, you know, the cliche is that you need to walk in their shoes. So that means that it's good if you can talk to them and you can maybe read what they say about the product, why they're using it. And you should never talk about what you think is important, but what they think is important. you know, how they speak, in what words they speak. And I always say, even if we do a commercial that is really successful, the advertiser, the company, will get bored of the advertisement far quicker than the customer is going to get, because it's not about you, it's about them, right? So, yeah, basically, you need to understand their story and where they're coming from, and then you can say it in their words.
Interesting. That means that you actually identify with them in the advertising of the product. More music, please.
So the next piece of music is Jamie Cullum, All at Sea. It's another piece of music where I go far, far away when I listen to this. Although I'm in this job where I teach and I stand in front of hundreds of people, but I still like to be on my own. So this song, All at Sea, just reminds me of, you know, that state of mind where I can be on my own, and I really enjoy my own company.
My guest today, Lenja Faraguna. Lenja Faraguna. I didn't get it perfect every time, you see.
But you're one of the few who does say it correctly, because I get Lenja, and people just don't know how to.
I've spent 5 minutes in this area. Come on. I know that not all J's are J's, for goodness sake. Not that bad. You could put the odd chert in if you want as well. I don't have a problem with that either. It's when you put them all together that I have a problem. We've talked about this idea that you teach sales and that sort of area. You also do it as a global lecture, from what I gather from what you've been saying. So not just for individual companies, but also, so you advertise, do you, I suppose, come and see this thing, or how does that work?
People call me and I go.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really, you know, I've been in the radio business now for 13 years, and I, you know, started as a student, got myself in for free to every European conference because I was studying radio, and I got in. So I have a large network. And then, you know, when you start doing things and you do one lecture, and then it just happens.
Were you really that, I mean, as a student, were you really that focused that you made all these connections and you used them later? I mean, you really knew where you were going?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. So
I was just really, really interested in radio, and there was not much, you know, not many documents about radio advertising and you know, the thesis I was writing. So I just wanted to grab as many people who could give me some information. So this is how I made friends.
What did you discover about radio that surprised you?
That surprised me? Oh my God. Now it just seems all so natural, you know?
I mean, it didn't disappoint you or do anything you weren't expecting?
Well, radio disappoints me in a way that it's losing that essence of communication between two people. It's a lot of screaming. It's a lot of transcribed words that you need to say, you know, and I just want people to talk to people, and I want interesting people on radio that I would listen to in a pub and be amazed, and I don't find it anymore. And on conferences, we talk about technology a lot, and we talk about all the competitors that are trying to kill radio. But I just think that it needs to go back where we have interesting people telling interesting stories that people can relate to.
I guess there are commercial issues there, though, because
Yes.
You're talking about commercial radio anyway, rather
Yes.
than the national broadcasters who may not be commercial, like in the UK. Commercial radio has to have guaranteed listeners, and listeners therefore drive the programmes rather than the people who know better.
Yes.
And that's my view, that much of commercial radio is simply driven by the audience. If they want to listen to some horrible pop music, that's what they get. Rather than, there's very little education in it. That's my worry.
Yes, but I think that education can also come in, you know, values of the moderator or the DJ in the morning. You can still mix your values into something you say about a piece of music, and they don't do it anymore. So I just want them to go back and just be human to human, nothing else.
So maybe you should be setting up some courses on radio production.
It was really funny that you mentioned this. Now, I just came from Amsterdam, and there were 200 radio imaging directors there, and me as their lecturer in the room, the only woman. And
the only woman. The radio directors weren't all men.
Yeah, I was the only woman.
That's an interesting fact on its own.
And it's interesting that they invited me, because I said, I'm not in production, I'm not into imaging, you know, the technical bit. But then again, I am into imaging, because imaging is branding and telling the story of a radio station through music and sound effects and silence and, you know, words. It is the DNA of the radio station. So it was really, really great lecture. It was really a good energy from the guys towards the stage.
More music, please.
So the next piece of music is about love. It's
Surely
from Đorđe Balašević, Priča o Vasi Ladačkom, where you see that no matter how much money you make in the world, it all comes down to having that one person that you can be completely you with. And this is what this song is about.
Nothing to say. A romantic idea in a piece of music, full of this energy, that you're talking about. Đorđe Balašević. We've spoken a lot about radio, we've spoken a lot about advertising. I think it's time I spoke a little bit about you. When you're not doing all these professional things and trying to make yourself small fortunes, I don't know how important that is, actually. Maybe even a worthwhile question. How important is you achieve something as opposed to how much you earn doing it?
I just had this conversation with Miran today, and
Miran is important man beside you.
Yes, he is. And is that sometimes I make a project or I do a project where I just think it's not fair that I take the money because I put so much heart in it. But then again, you have to feel compensated for what you do. And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's my heart, sometimes it's the energy I get back. So, you know.
So all budgets are possible?
Yes, all budgets.
Providing you care about the job?
Yes.
And do you have to care about the job? Have you ever done a job you didn't really feel it was you?
Yes, I did. And I
won't ask you which one, but that's not kind.
I did a few. It's not that I don't care about them, but it's just that I make myself believe that we can achieve something, but then I see that I saw more in that was there. So then I just realized we can't do that. I can't artificially make something out of their story which isn't there. And I tried it and it was in vague, so I don't do it anymore.
Interesting. Because it's hard, isn't it? I mean, the whole process of making something that you actually feel emotionally connected to, it's very hard not to do it. I have to say, and I'll say it on air, I believe that all the broadcasters in Slovenia, and plenty in other countries, I'm not pinpointing Slovenia here, abuse the people who work for them on the basis of they love doing the work, and they do it extremely well. I mean, I've travelled and worked in a lot of countries all the way around the world, and the same energy exists in all of the stations. Okay, not everybody is perfect, but most of them are pretty damn good. And they're often not paid correctly or rewarded in whatever way correctly or even recognised for how good they are. And that's the core of the station, after all. It's what people are listening to.
Yes, sure. But then again, I think that the people who don't get paid either don't stand up for themselves, you know? They should put this energy out. What do I want? If they are okay for doing, you know, if they do things for free and it's fine for them, that's fine, you know. But it's how they feel is important.
Yeah, it's quite hard in a society where lots of people are actually out of work. I mean, there's plenty of somebody going to step into your job if you're going to go away. We don't want that kind of approach. And I lived through and worked through the late 70s where half of the UK broadcasting industry went on strike because they were being abused by companies, particularly commercial companies, who were making millions per minute and paying not much more than minimum wages for a worker in that country at the time for people who were actually quite experienced and had been doing things for a long time and doing a good job.
Yeah.
And the unions made that happen because, you know, which of course later Thatcher got rid of. But the reality was that it was fair that the unions got rid of it.
Yes.
It may be not so much now, but it was at the time. Let's have another piece of music.
Okay, the next one is by a newly discovered love of mine, which is the band Mumford and Sons, and the piece of music is Below My Feet. And there's one lyric in there which is called Let Me Learn From Where I Have Been. And if you come out of a bad situation and you don't learn anything, then you're just going to make the same mistake again.
It was a wasted bad situation.
Yes. And I just think that this song, you know, every time I hear this one lyric, it just reminds me, okay, I have to always remind myself where I have been and I don't want to be again and where I want to go.
The last section of the programme, 2 more pieces of music. My guest today is Lenja Faraguna, and I'm fascinated by a lot of the stuff we've talked about, but we still haven't really got much about you. Skiing, sailing, what other things do you do apart from this work, this promotion of radio and advertising and so on?
This is my life, actually, you know. I love doing the things I do, and I have to remind myself that it's okay if I stop, if I don't work. I have to regain, you know, my brain has to regain itself, or, you know, find its way again so that the both hemispheres function again.
So what techniques do you use? Where do you go to make peace with yourself?
I love the seaside. I love that. And one of my wishes is to live by the sea. And I think I can say that I will make this dream come true soon. And I love the sea. That is really, really important to me. And just going somewhere with my little family and just away from everybody.
Do you want to expand that My Little Family bit for me?
Well, it's my 2 dogs, Ira and Doderi and Miran.
And what are the dogs?
It's a Labrador, and the other one is the daughter of a dog I saved from Serbia when I went there.
Nice reason. And tell me a bit about Miran.
Well, Miran came into my life so suddenly, and radio is one dot that connects us. He's from Serbia, and I used to be his teacher, and I forgot a few years ago when I was doing a seminar in Serbia for radio people. And then we just met, we talked over Skype a lot, and then, you know, it just went from there.
How romantic.
It is.
Follow it with a piece of music, please.
Okay, yes, it's the perfect piece of music. It's Timing is Everything by Garrett Hedlund. And timing is everything, you know, that good things come to you when you're ready. You know, the teacher will appear when the student is ready. And this happened to me in my private life and in my business life, where I think that you have to be really passionate and work your off.
Yes, it's okay. You can use the word. I'm happy with it. It's okay. It's good.
So, and then, you know, the timing will come when you're ready, and this piece of music is about that.
Once again, nothing more to say. Wow, awesome. Perfect. Thanks for a wonderful introduction. Garrett Hedlund. I didn't know this one either. Timing is everything. And I'm sure everybody thinks we must have scripted that whole sequence to get into that track. Completely not, folks. That was absolutely as it happened. The last very small little section, just a few more minutes left of our conversation. Where are you going? What's the future? What haven't you done that you're desperate to do?
I want to write a book.
About this whole process? About advertising? About teaching? About radio?
I want to give people, entrepreneurs, great case studies from all over the world that I have been gathering for the past 8-9 years now. And I want them to get inspired. I want them to think like there is no box, not like everybody's teaching them out of the box. I want them to think like there is nothing holding them back in what they want to do. I want to teach more and about radio, and I want to work with young people because I want them to realize that they have something in them, and then they need to find it in order to then expand and give to people, and of course be happy So I want to do that. I want to travel more, and I want to live by the sea.
Yeah, we got the bit by the sea. Where do you want to travel? Because that's always an interesting question. What places in the world have you not been that you want to, and why?
I want to go to Ireland.
Ireland.
Ireland. I want to just get...
Fine place.
Is it?
Wonderful people.
Is it?
Oh, wonderful.
Really?
People. You won't find nicer anywhere in the world.
I wonder who I could talk to about that.
I wonder.
Yes. So I want to get lost in I want to get lost in Ireland. I never travel with
I've asked lots of people in Ireland when I've got lost in Ireland, and I have to tell you what the normal answer is. Well, if I were you, I wouldn't be starting from here. That's how they are. Wonderful, wonderful folk.
Yes. So just getting lost, going through all the, little villages that have been forgotten and they need to be reminded again. And I want to live with the local people. I want to live in a little village, and I just want to listen to stories. I don't know, there is a certain word that you use or describe people who look into the flats or houses, right? If you walk down the street and it's night.
Nosy Parkers is the word.
No, I will find the word. And I just love listening to stories of people. I can just sit down, just tell me your story.
And where are you going to use this? I mean, you want to use this in telling the rest of the world about these stories? I mean, is that the idea, or is it personal? Is this for you?
It's, it's a self-discovery by discovering others.
Okay.
And I always think that I can use it somewhere in a story. If I want to get a point across, I always use metaphors, because it's so easy for left and right hemisphere to connect, to use metaphors. And I just love using stories and metaphors, and people love that. This is how they remember.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I do crazy things when I teach people, like stand on the chairs. Or,
I just did that in Amsterdam.
Really
200 radio men stood on chairs. Because
or look the other way, and they're behind me all the time. They remember that little bit. Not the rest, but
exactly. Yes.
Good tricks. It's been a great journey. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, we actually have run out of time. I can't squeeze any more comments into the programme, sadly. How are we going to end?
We're going to end with a piece of music by Pink.
A wonderful, wonderful performer.
Oh, amazing. One of my dreams to see her perform
Me too.
live. Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Never
we
done
go
it.
together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I just chose this piece of music, which is Try. I love it, the energy and the words, and that you always have to fight on. Even if it burns you, you're not going to die. You can always fight on and never give up. So this is...
Perfect ending, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely, exactly what you've been saying all the way through. Your advice to people: focus and try.
Yes.
Lenja, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye.